Right, it's May, and it's a good time, any time really from March to May, to sow cauliflowers. Now, they've got a bit of a reputation as being quite difficult, and they can be a bit of a challenge. There's a few things that affect them, pigeons mainly, which really love them. And they take a little bit of practice to grow possibly, but they're worth it because they're really nutritious, and they're just a lovely veg to have. And if you choose the right varieties, you can have them almost all year round, so well worth the effort. So I've got a couple of varieties here. Got my favourite one, which is called all the year round, which has got a nice long harvesting period, goes all the way from sort of July right through into the autumn. Quite an old tried and trusted variety. And there's another one here called Boris, which is a slightly newer variety. Got an award of garden merit, so another very good variety, and again good for sowing at this time of year for harvesting right through until the end of October. Now the first bit is actually very easy with cauliflowers. They're just as easy as any other sort of cabbage family, you know, your cabbages and your kale and all that sort of thing. They're really easy to germinate and to sow. So what I've got here is a cell tray. You can sow them straight outside into the plot, but because pests like slugs and snails, and I mentioned the pigeons love them so much, it's often better to sow them in a tray, get them started, and then to plant them out once they're big enough and they've got a bit more chance to really get going. And also, if you're sowing early in the year, if you're going to sow sort of March time, if the soil's still cold, much better to sow them in trays and keep them inside in a polytunnel or a cold frame, something like that. So all year round, I'm going to sow this time. Fill this little 24 cell tray about the right size, so they're sort of size cells. You could sow them in smaller ones, they don't need a lot of room to get going. Any compost will do. Just put an ordinary multi-purpose compost in here, which are filled and just lightly firmed. Don't push it down too much. You can water it first if you want to, but I prefer to water them afterwards. They're nice easy seeds to handle, so they're a reasonable size, not too bad. You don't need your magnifying glass for these, and they don't need to be too deep, so just make a little well with a dibber in the top, probably about 1/4 of an inch deep, or the dibber you were born with, and just make some little dips in the top and just drop a seed in each. You could sow 2 per cell if you wanted to, but they come up, as I say, pretty well, pretty easily usually. Take about 7 to 14 days to come through. Don't need a lot of heat at this time of year. If I was sowing in March, I probably would put them on a heated bench, or a heated mat, something like that, or a heated propagator on the windowsill if you haven't got a greenhouse or a polytunnel. But at this time of year, actually lovely sunny weather today, they'll be absolutely fine, don't need any heat, they're very hardy. So we'll just carry on and sow those. Now what I'll do once they're sown, as I mentioned, is just grow them on until they're about 6 inches high, or until they've got about 4 or 5 leaves, true leaves other than the seed leaves, and then they'll be ready for planting out. But what you'll have to do first is just harden them off. So because they've been inside, here we are, I think we've sown all those, they'll be a little bit soft, a little bit mollycoddled, so you'll have to harden them off so that they survive outside okay. And that just means taking them out during the day, bringing them back in at night for about a week, and then eventually just leaving them out all the time until they've toughened up a little bit. So I'm just going to cover these over, as I say, about 1/4 of an inch deep. Don't want to be any deeper than that really. Very quick and easy. If I was sowing these outside, I'd probably try and sow them about 3/4 of an inch apart in a nursery row, so you don't sow them straight away where you want them to grow. You sow them in a nursery row fairly thick, and then again, once they're about 6 inches high, then you dig them up and plant them out, probably about 18 inches apart in the rows where they're going to grow. That's it. Easy as that. And just give them a good water, and they're ready to go into a propagator. If you needed to in March, as I say, If it's a little bit later and nice and warm like this, then you don't have to. And I really must clean the rows on my watering can. But give them a good soak. Label them up, put them on the greenhouse bench. As I say, they'll be up in about 7 to 14 days. And they'll grow very quickly. Within about 3 or 4 weeks, you know, they'll have several leaves. Probably within, yeah, certainly a month, 6 weeks, they'll be ready for planting out.